It looks like more people who are out of work are landing unpaid internships. While there's little hard data about the number of unpaid workers in the country, the Los Angeles Times points to some anecdotal evidence, including Craigslist posts, that show many of the country's unemployed are working and training for free. For more, we're joined live on the KCBS Newsline by Richard Bottner. He is president of Intern Bridge, a consulting firm that does research on internships. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning. So, this didn't happen, I don't think, in the nation's last big surge in unemployment. So what is it about this one?
Well, I think more and more companies are seeing internships as a tool that they can use in order to fuel their labor pipelines when they don't really have the budgets to do so.
And how is the law on this? Do California's labor laws extend to interns? Is it legal not to pay someone for working for you?
The issue with the laws as it relates to internships is that there is very little case law that pertains to interns, so we're not exactly sure what would happen if these cases go to court, which they rarely do. What we do know is that by federal standard, especially in for-profit situations, interns must be paid.
Huh. So how do they do it then? How are these ones doing it?
Well, what we find in our research of over 100,000 students throughout the United States is about 18% of those internships, from a compensation perspective, are set up illegally.
Huh. All right. So why take an unpaid internship?
Well, I think from the student's perspective, taking the unpaid value to gain that experience that, quite frankly, employers really want you to have. If you don't have that internship experience and you go to find a job, you're going to be beat out by the competition, the students that have the internship experience. So it's important from the student perspective. The issue that we're seeing, of course, is that there's only so many students in the country that can afford to take that unpaid internship and forego a wage. And obviously the benefits to the employers is that they're getting labor without paying for it.
But what about much older people with a lot of workplace experience who are unemployed? The advantage to them?
And that really is a trend that we have seen growing and growing, and it's very tricky. The idea of an internship, of a corporate-based internship, really isn't reserved for adults, and for a very long period of time, it hasn't been meant for adults. And so now, with the recession, we're seeing more and more adults trying to find those opportunities, and it's very difficult for them to find them because companies aren't necessarily looking to those adults. They in many cases, would rather have those college students.
And has this played itself out long enough to know if those who do take the internships have an easier time getting a job later on?
Absolutely. There's no question that students with internships are more likely to receive employment, if not at that particular company, than at another company, because, again, employers want to see those students that have taken that academic theory in the classroom and applied it to real-world work experience.
And does that go for the unemployed, much older people?
It does. But again, it is a trend that we're seeing because of the recession. I think when the recession concludes, we're going to see that go away because the purpose of internships, looking back at the history of them and where they stem from, they're really stemmed from academic programs that, again, link students from the classroom into the workplace. And usually, especially from a legality standpoint, it gets very complicated when you have adults that aren't connected to an academic program that are participating, in particular, with unpaid programs.
All right. Well, thank you for the information. That's Richard Bottner. He's president of Intern Bridge, a consulting firm that does research on internships.